So, when I say the name George Washington Carver, what's the first thing you think of? For most of us, it's one thing: peanuts. But that simple picture, that caricature, it kind of hides the real story of a true systems thinker. A scientist whose genius wasn't just about a bunch of inventions, but about saving an entire region from total collapse.
Yeah, the Peanut Man. That's what we all call him, right? It's been his nickname for over a century. But have you ever stopped to think about, well, why? Why him? What was so incredibly important about the humble peanut?
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. The answer has almost nothing to do with peanut butter. In fact, little fun fact for you, he didn't even invent it. No, the real story, the one that matters, is how Carver used the peanut as a secret weapon to rescue the American South from a catastrophic crisis. So to really get it, we have to look past that simple nickname. This is where we break down the myth and find the real man, a brilliant scientist who was staring down one of the biggest challenges of his time. You see, Carver wasn't just messing around in a lab for the fun of it. He was on the front lines of a crisis. Everything he did was a direct response to the absolute disaster unfolding for farmers right outside his door at the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. And the core of that problem, it wasn't just about money. It was literally the ground itself. Decades of doing things one way had pushed the land to its absolute breaking point. The soil was dying. Carver looked out and saw that Southern farmers, especially poor black sharecroppers, were completely stuck. They were caught in this inescapable trap, a feedback loop that was just grinding them down, destroying their livelihoods and the land at the very same time. And this is what that brutal cycle looked like. It all started with cotton because it was the only crop that paid. But the problem is, cotton is hungry. It just sucks nutrients out of the soil. So the soil gets exhausted, then your crop yields plummet, and you're even poorer than before. So what's the only desperate thing you can do? You're forced to plant even more cotton just to survive. It was a complete death spiral. And the damage was just staggering. In some places, the organic carbon in the topsoil, which is like a vital sign for its health, had dropped by nearly half. The land was literally starving to death. So, with dying land and desperate farmers, this is where Carver steps in. And he doesn't just come up with one little invention. No, he creates a comprehensive 3-part rescue plan, a whole system designed to break that cycle for good. And his strategy was it's so elegant. Step 1, you heal the soil using science. Step 2, you create a brand new market so farmers can actually make money from the new crops. And step 3, you get that knowledge out there to the people who need it most. It's a full circle solution. Okay, so step 1, healing the soil, all hinged on this amazing scientific process called nitrogen fixation. Carver knew that plants like peanuts and sweet potatoes do something magical. They literally pull nitrogen, a critical nutrient, right out of the atmosphere and put it back into the soil, acting like a natural fertilizer. So by rotating cotton with these crops, you're letting nature bring the dead soil back to life. Now, this is the part that, for me, is just pure genius. He knew telling a poor farmer to plant peanuts was useless unless they could sell them. So for step 2, he turned his lab into an idea factory. He developed over 300 uses for the peanut, everything from food and cosmetics to industrial materials like plastics and glue. He did the same for sweet potatoes and even for local clays, creating new markets out of thin air. So, did it work? Well, get this. When Carver started his work, the peanut wasn't even considered a real crop. By 1940, it was one of the top 6 crops in the entire United States. Think about that for a second. That's a staggering transformation. So he had the science, and he had the market. All that was left was step 3, delivery. Carver knew the farmers who needed this knowledge the most would never step foot in a university. So he brought the university to them. It started as him visiting farms in a buggy, but that grew into the Jesup Wagon, a farmer's college on wheels. By 1923, it was a motorized truck with a film projector and even a nurse, bringing a whole vision of community health directly to rural families. And this leads us to what truly separates Carver from other great inventors of his time, his core philosophy. His goal was never personal profit. It was always about public service. You know, think about the typical process for an inventor, right? You discover something, you patent it, and then you profit from it. Carver completely flipped that model. His path was discover, develop practical uses for everybody, and then give all that knowledge away for free. So, of those hundreds and hundreds of products and formulas he developed,
How many do you think he actually patented? Just 3. He created an entire industry and chose not to profit from it. And his reasoning was simple. His mission was to help the poorest farmers. He knew that if his formulas were locked behind expensive patents, the very people he was trying to save would be locked out. In his own words, he didn't want his work to benefit only specific favored persons. And this all brings us to his incredible legacy. Because when you look at Carver's whole system, you realize he wasn't just solving a 19th century problem, he was writing a blueprint for the 21st century. Just think about these terms for a second. Sustainable agriculture, conservation science, the bioeconomy. These are some of the most urgent fields of study today, and George Washington Carver was pioneering all of them over 100 years ago. And that's the ultimate takeaway. Carver's real genius wasn't just in one discovery, it was his ability to connect everything. He knew you couldn't fix poverty without fixing the soil, and you couldn't fix the soil without fixing the market. That systems thinking approach is a timeless model for solving our own complex problems. In the end, his life is probably best summarized by the words on his gravestone. He turned down fame and fortune, including a huge job offer from Thomas Edison, to stay at Tuskegee and serve. He found his purpose not in profit, but in being profoundly, brilliantly helpful to the world.